archaeologists discovered the world's oldest bar. And the world's oldest bar joke. A man walks into a bar. We'll give you the rest coming up.
No, that's a woman walks into a bar because a woman's place is in the brew house.
From Crooked Eye Brewing in Hatboro with author Tara Nooren, I'm Glen Macnow for a new episode of What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Monco Maker's Passport. Download your free digital pass and sip your way through Montgomery County. By the Conshohocken Brewing Company, featuring 4 locations and available at beer retailers throughout the tri-state area. By Visit Bucks County. Travel the Bucks County Ale Trail. Get your passport at visitbuckscounty.com. And by support from the Pennsylvania Malt and Brewed Beverage Industry Promotion Board and grant funding from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board.
Hey, welcome to What's Brewing. I'm Glen Macnow with beer writer, beer author, beer journalist Tara Nooren. Thanks for being a guest. We had you a couple of years ago. Nice to see you again.
Very happy to be back.
We are at Crooked Eye Brewing in Hatboro. I am enjoying a Uncle Pete's Pilsner, a nice little 4.9%. What about you?
This is a black eye chocolate stout.
Very nice. By the way, Crooked Eye, don't forget, is part of Monco Makers. The Monco Makers Passport lets you check into 15 participating locations to receive a free Monco Makers pint glass. All right, time for the beer swap. And because you wrote this great book, A Woman's Place is in the Brew House, we are focusing on beers that are either made by or affiliated with women. I got a good one for you.
Yeah.
This is the Yards Brewing French Toast Bites. I think we might have had this on the show once before, made by our friends at Yards. And there's a great connection here because they did this in collaboration with a woman named Charisse McGill, who started her own French truck. Maybe it might have started a French toast truck, which became then kind of a pop-up.
Right.
She's become an institution in the city. So this beer, let me read you what it says. Smooth and malty collaboration that captures the delicious taste of French toast bites with comforting notes of maple syrup, rich brown sugar, spicy cinnamon, and delicate vanilla. Boy, that sounds so good.
I am a sucker for pastry stouts, and even though this isn't a stout, it's definitely pastry,
But
isn't it, with French toast?
You really get the French toast in that. I mean, it's not just sweet, but you taste the breadiness in it. I love this beer. All right, what'd you bring me?
Well, I brought you a GABF winner,
Oh, sweet.
a Great American Beer Festival winner from 2020 from Philly, Attic Brewing. It's called Bloodhouse Brown Ale, and I know both you and I like brown ales a lot.
I'm a fan of the brown ale. Very nice.
I'm always so happy to see a brown ale on a menu because, you know, they were popular here in the States in the 90s, and then they fell out of fashion along with porters, and I like that roasty,
that's good. It's got a nice nutty smell to it.
And Attic is owned by a woman, and the assistant brewer is also a woman named Stephanie Santos, and that's why we asked them to be on the show.
It's good stuff, and I can see why it's an award winner. Good stuff. Some of the others, and you can help me on this, Necromancer.
Right.
We have some of their beers. Tell me
Pittsburgh.
about Necromancer.
Necromancer is one of my favorite breweries in Pittsburgh. The head brewer and assistant brewer are both female, and everything they do has to do with fun, quirky takes on death. Necro, get it? Necromancer.
Okay. All right. And of course, locally, everybody, the legend is Carol Stout.
Right.
We know Carol and Stouts. She sold Stouts, doesn't exist. But you wrote this book, Woman's Place is in the Brew House. Terrific book. And it talks about the forgotten history. So, Tara.
Yes.
Tell me 3 things that I don't know about women in the history of beer.
3 things. All right, there's so much to tell. 3 things. We're going to be talking about bar jokes a little later, as you said. So the first known beer recipe was actually devoted to a woman called the Himden Kasi. And same time period from the Sumerian people, way back. We'll talk about that later. The first woman to own a commercial brewery in what is now the United States was, guess where? Philadelphia.
Sweet.
Colonial times, Old City. Her name was Mary Lyle.
I like it.
So I'm working on an historical marker to designate that.
That'd be great.
Stay tuned. And the last thing is that women are actually 40% of craft beer drinkers, which is awesome, but less than 3% of owners, not owners completely, but women exclusive owned breweries are only, that's hard to say, less than 3%.
Well, and that gets us into kind of more recent times because everybody knows the Me Too movement hit the brewing industry a couple of years ago, and there was a lot of cases of harassment. My question to you is that all broke in what,
2021, May 2021,
Okay.
right?
Have we seen positive change since then?
Yeah, we have. I'm really happy to report that we have one major thing is that we're finally talking about the discrimination and the abuse and everything else that occurs really very prevalently in the brewing industry. So since then, we're having conversations about it, like this one right here.
Yeah.
The other great development that I've witnessed since then is that there have been a lot of organizations, programs, campaigns springing up to really address this issue. So while I feel like on the individual level and even on a societal level worldwide that we have a long way to go before we hit parity, a lot has evolved in the past few years.
So, and it's interesting to me, you say 40% of the drinkers of craft beer are women, but is it still a bro world?
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, like I'm saying, less so. A lot of women, especially since 2013, we really saw a big sort of pivot. Well, that would be 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot more women getting into production since then. So we see women everywhere now in brewing, which is amazing, and supplying. But yeah, I mean,
still a ways to go. And
yeah.
I know you said some of the ones that really notably either women brewers or women owners locally, Second Story, Love City.
Love City's a prominent one.
And up in Massachusetts, Sam Adams, Boston Brewing.
Well, right. So Megan Parisi is a native of Southwest Philly, and she's the head brewer there at the new Sam Adams tap room in Faneuil Hall, which, have you had a chance to go yet?
I'm going to Boston this week, so
Really?
maybe I'll get there, yeah.
I will put you in touch with Megan.
Okay,
you should have a beer with her.
My vacation is planned.
That's right.
Get this book by Tara, Woman's Place in the Brew House. Where can I find this book?
Online, everywhere,
Good.
certain bookstores, my
Good.
website, taranerd.com.
Terrific. Okay, coming up, yes, they discovered the world's oldest brewery and the world's oldest beer joke. Not sure we get it, but we'll see if you do. We're at Crooked Eye Brewing in Hatboro. Tara Noor and Glen Macnow. What's brewing? Hey, it's Glen Macnow here with Andrew Colligan, genius and chief bottle washer at the Conshohocken Brewing Company, here to show us what's hot for 2023.
Our lead dog, Type A IPA, citrus and grapefruit, 7% West Coast IPA.
Love this one. It's coming home with me. What's next?
Life Coach, our hazy IPA, our fastest growing brand, juicy and citrusy, perfect for any hazy IPA.
And very crushable. Keep going.
Ring the Bell, our American lager, crisp, clean, easy drinking, tastes especially good down to the gate.
No better way to celebrate a win. And
Backpack beer, our Belgian-style wheat, light, refreshing, and approachable. Throw a couple backpacks in your backpack.
I'm gonna go take a hike. Finally,
Publish Row, our classic ESB, proud to make maybe one of the best English ales in the country. Philly loves an underdog. Support your local brewery and watering hole.
it's a beautiful sentiment. All these available at Conshohocken Brewing locations or wherever great beer is sold. Welcome back to What's Brewing, along with beer writer Tara Noor, and I'm Glen Macnow. We are at Crooked Eye Brewing in Hatboro. I am having an amazing Black Eye Stout, double chocolate oatmeal stout. That hits me well. What about you?
I am drinking a 14%
Whoa, girl.
wheat wine,
Whoa,
which is
wow.
50% wheat, 50% barley. So we'll see how we do with these jokes in a few minutes.
All right,
huh?
well, that's impressive. So here's the story. Archaeologists from Penn and the University of Pisa uncovered what they believe to be the world's oldest bar. You are looking at it. It's a tavern in the Sumerian state of what is kind of now Iraq. it's not just any tavern, Tara.
That's right.
It had two things that still make bars great. It had a kitchen and it had an outdoor space.
Love outdoor space.
All right, so I'm going to read
Very important.
what they wrote. Picture this. It's a warm night in Lagash, that's the town. You've just gotten off work at the Ziggurat. The king may be a real bear to work for, but at least he pays on time. It's been a long week. You could use a drink. You and your buddy head to the bar. The barman brings a bowl of beer to the table. By the way, they would drink it out of a bowl with a straw.
Right?
Yeesh. And you sip it through a straw, and your pal tells a joke. And they found this, the oldest bar joke. A dog walks into a tavern and says, I can't see a thing. I'll open this one. Maybe it was funny in 1700 BC.
What you told me when you sent me that originally was maybe it doesn't translate well anymore.
Right. So we are literally talking 4,000 years ago. Humor was apparently different, but that got us to ask our viewers on social media. By the way, I'm at Real Glen Macnow on Twitter. Glen Macnow, the show is at What's Brewing. Where do people find you on social media?
At Tara Nurin.
There you go, Nurin. We asked them to send us bar jokes, and they did not disappoint. Let's go back and forth, okay? You actually have one that is kind of the oldest bar joke I know.
Right, and I'm wondering if it doesn't actually come from the one you just told.
Maybe.
From the Sumerians.
Who sent it?
Kevin Kurznowski. A horse walks into a bar. The bartender says, Glenn, what does he say?
Why the long face? I still like it. I like it. All right, Jeff, about to be married Martin. The past, the present, and the future walk into a bar. It was tense.
English jokes.
Right,
I love that.
you're up.
All right. Russ Joy sends in, a grasshopper walks into a bar. Bartender says, hey, we've got a drink named after you. Grasshopper says, really? You've got a drink named Kevin?
Okay.
It's funny.
Melita Glavin. A skeleton walks into a bar and says, give me a cold beer and a mop. The beer goes through the skeleton.
Oh, I was thinking about my wheat wine. See, I told you these
right,
jokes
you're up.
might not go so well. All right. Thomas Robert Irvin. A priest, a nun, and a rabbit walk into a bar, and the rabbit says, I'm in the wrong joke. Damn autocorrect.
That's good.
That was
well,
funny.
thank you, but I like that. Maddie Danson Moorhead. A Roman walks into a bar, sticks up two fingers, and says, 5 beers, please.
That's funny.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody's thinking. All right, we have Larry Finkelstein. A gorilla walks into the bar and orders a dry martini. Bartender says that'll be $25. The gorilla pays him. A little later, the bartender says to the gorilla, you know, we don't get a lot of gorillas in here. To which the gorilla responds, yeah, not surprised at these prices.
I got one more, then you can close. The Papa Bear and Beansy Show, that's the social media handle. A bear walks into a bar. He says to the bartender, I'll have a gin and tonic. The bartender says, okay, I'll get that for you, but what's with the big paws? The bear says, oh, I've had these forever.
I'm starting to see where we get our jokes, knowing
Yeah.
the one you read originally from way back in the day. All right, finally, Nathan C. Wolf writes, 2 people walk into a bar. You'd think the second one would have ducked.
Great input. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Just a little bit more about this bar that they found in this town of Iraq, because I thought this was interesting. It was just 20 inches beneath the surface, and it was in a great state of preservation. There was a brick oven. There were benches for the patrons to sit. There were dozens of bowls containing the remains of fish that was served at the tavern.
Wild.
And there was a thing called a zeer, Z-E-E-R, which is an ancient and kind of ingenious sort of clay refrigerator that used evaporation to keep food and drink cool. And apparently they still use that stuff today. And I'm going to read, this is from Reed Goodman, one of the Penn archaeologists. Good work, Reed. He said, the fact that you can have a public gathering place where people could sit down and have a pint, have their fish stew, they're not laboring under the tyranny of kings, life was good.
I love
That's
that.
pretty good. All right, we're not going to Iraq for the next segment, but I'm going to France, where I'm going to visit my friend Joe Sixpack next. We're at the Crooked Eye Brewery in Hatboro. Tara Nurin, Glen Macnow, enjoying the jokes and the beer on What's Brewing. Hey, welcome back to What's Brewing. I'm Glen Macnow, and this is the time of the show where we always travel across the Atlantic and visit with Joe Sixpack over there in France. You're looking spiffy there, my friend.
Thanks, Glenn. Back at you.
All right, this week we're doing Ask Joe Sixpack. I got some good questions. Let's go with number one. This is from Jerry Goodhart, who says to you, what style of beer does Joe Sixpack miss the most that he has not been able to find in France?
That's a great question because, in France, they are making most of all those American-style beers that you're familiar with, Glenn, especially lots of hazies. That's what I'm drinking right now.
Oh, yeah, that's mine, baby.
You can see how hazy that baby is. This is from Sauvage Brewery, which is brewed right outside of town here in Rennes. And they make a lot of IPAs, and some of them are good, some not so good. The one thing I do miss, though, is a West Coast IPA. They've tended to sort of lean towards the hazies because they're not particularly bitter. And I do like a good, strong, bitter West Coast IPA, that kind of piney, resiny kind of flavor to them. And I just don't see it very often here, unfortunately. And the other style, which I had to say I'm surprised at because I'm in Brittany, which is just across the English Channel from Britain, we don't see a whole lot of British-style ales here. I'm not sure why that is. I don't really expect to see cask-conditioned beer here, but I did think I would see more bitters and pale ales and so on.
You're just going to have to take a trip through the Channel one of these days and load up is what you're going to have to do. All right, question number two. This is from Eagles and Ray Didinger fan page. Wow, a tribute to my old partner. Interesting question. What two styles of beer make the best hybrid?
Well, I guess that's a matter of taste. And we've seen all types of hybrids, especially on IPAs and those new fangled India Pale Lagers. Which is a classic hybrid. I was thinking here in terms of something new, something you don't see very often at all. My mind went to maybe the original style of beer, which would be a smoked lambic. And I know this sounds a little bit weird, but in ancient times, you would have malt was dried over an open fire, and that would produce a smoky flavor in the malt. And the beer would also be spontaneously fermented, so it would have a bit of a funky flavor to it. So I'm thinking something that's both funky and smoky. That would be fun and different.
Oh, you make that sound so good. Alas, I probably not going to share that one with you. All right, next up. Anthony, I love this question. Anthony Jr. writes to ask, why do you guys always stick your noses in beer glasses before tasting on the show? What the hell are you trying to smell in there?
Well, Glenn, I really can't speak for you here, but what I'm trying to do is get a little bit of an idea about aroma, because it is the second way to judge beer. The first, obviously, being the color and the how dark or how cloudy the beer is. The second way, smell it. Smell what beer is all about, because it could be hoppy, it could be sweet, could be dry, could be smoky, and you get a good tell of what the flavor is going to be like, and that flavor also that aroma also enhances the flavor. And I got to say, this is not a snooty thing whatsoever. I mean, you always see the wine drinkers smelling their wine and before swishing it in their mouth and spitting it out. But this has been around for a long time. My friend and our friend of the show, Bob Banash, sent along a newspaper ad from Rheingold circa 1934. which among its lessons shows you how to properly whiff its aroma. So this has been around for a long time.
I love that. That is great. All right, last one for the day from Patrick Smith. Does Joe Sixpack enjoy the Heineken as much in France as he enjoyed it here in the United States? You've definitely, this is your puppy. Your hatred for Heineken is all yours.
This sounds like a trick question, like, I'm not even sure. Do I still enjoy Heineken as much as I used to? I guess the question is, I like it exactly as much as I used to, or dislike it exactly as much as I used to. So I don't know.
And it's the same over there. No, same over there as it is here, I assume. Pretty much.
That is, I guess that's the one thing is they are consistent in their flavor.
All right. Well, hey, always a pleasure. You enjoy that. What do you got there? Hazy IPA. Hazies have taken over the world.
Yes, they have.
Which is not a bad thing. Joe Sixpack, we'll see you next week. We'll be back with more from Crooked Eye Brewing next on What's Brewing.
So we went to this place called Bucks County for vacation. There was so much to do. We played games, rode on a train, and visited Kids Castle. I went on rides, water slides, and got to hang with Elmo at Sesame Place. We hiked to this huge boulder field called Ringing Rocks. Oh, and I got to meet a pilot. That was so cool. You gotta go.
Welcome back to What's Brewing. We're at the Crooked Eye Brewery here in Hatboro. By the way, so many things to do in Montgomery County. Something you don't want to miss is stopping in to see what the Montco makers are brewing up. Plan your next stop at valleyforge.org. Jeff Mulhern is with us. Jeff is the head brewer and co-owner here.
Correct.
And janitor,
Yes.
as you said.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is interesting because I'm drinking the Regimental 80 Scotch Ale, and Tara, you are drinking...
I am drinking the
Angry Piper Scotch Ale.
Scotch Ale.
Okay,
All right.
wait, mine is a...
Scottish Ale.
Excuse me, Scottish Ale, Scotch Ale, what's the difference? Other than mine's 4.7 and hers is...
Yes, it's a lot, that's a lot lighter, more sessionable. Mm-hmm. The Scotch Ale is more like a wee heavy, higher in alcohol, more grain.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know the distinction, as in I just announced mine incorrectly. So there you go with that. All right, let's talk a little bit. I know your 10-year anniversary is coming up. You're very proud of that.
February of 2024.
Okay, and you guys are getting into doing some canning?
Yes, yeah, we started doing some limited 4-packs. We're waiting on some labeling. You have to submit label artwork and get it all submitted. So we have some generic labels that we got approved, and we can just write the style on, but we actually have 4 or 5 actually full color design labels.
Good for you. Good.
Yeah. So, are you of Scottish descent? You've got such a high.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, we're Scotch-Irish, so.
Okay, that works. Okay, speaking of which, you've also, now we got a hard liquor. You did this collaboration with Doan. We spent some time up at Doan, really love that place. Tell us what do we got here?
So we took our Black Ice Stout. I brewed it here, fermented it here, packaged it, and took it up there, and we ran it through the still.
Mm-hmm. Tara, here's to you.
And then we aged it in a oak barrel that previously had maple syrup in it. So.
Wow, that's smooth.
It's smooth.
Smells amazing.
Single
That's
barrel.
really nice. So I can get this here. I can get this at Doan.
This was a pilot batch. We're working on the licensing.
Okay.
So they have a couple bottles and we have a couple bottles. We can't sell it by the bottle, but we can make you a drink.
Okay. One of the things I noticed is you focus a lot on lagers.
Yeah, recently.
Why? And let's talk about that.
I love the crispness. I really like brewing them. There's some technical stuff that you can get into that, sometimes brewing the same old thing gets kind of mundane, boring. Lagers are a little bit challenging, and there's a ton of styles that really aren't popular in a lot of breweries.
Yeah.
Some old German stuff
But really good, and one of the things a lot of our viewers may not know is when you do a lager as a brewery, it takes up more of your resources.
Yes, it'll stay in the tank an extra 3 to 6 weeks from a regular ale. So
it's a commitment.
Yes. Yeah. It's worth it though, I believe.
It's so nice to see so many lagers on at breweries now, because for so long, so many years in craft brewing, it was just ale,
Yes.
IPA.
Yeah, and I think the lagers are really kind of making a comeback. I know like Czech Pils and Czech Amber lagers are really big. Pilsner's, German Pilsner's always huge.
Yep. All right, Jeff, let's talk about what you've got a mug club with this really beautiful mug.
Thank you.
And you've got a kilt situation, and the viewers right now are lucky enough to see me. I was going to wear that kilt during this whole segment. Apparently, and I'm not a small guy, that kilt is built for somebody about 320 pounds.
You are true stout.
Yeah, rare I put on something that's too big for me, but it was. What's the story with the kilt?
Yeah, so we started wearing kilts a while back, and then we reached out to this kilt shop, and they designed kind of our colors, red, black, and yellow. And we're gonna make an event out of it. They're gonna come here, and we'll drink beers. They'll fit people, and customers or anyone can buy a kilt and feel free to wear it.
Huge turnout for that one. It is, Harry, it is an attractive kilt.
Fun idea. It's beautiful.
And in the spring, it's nice to wear.
Yeah, not sure how well it fit me, but it was.
Yeah,
nice.
that one is. I don't know. Maybe
Before we get out of
extra.
here, just let's talk a little bit about your core lineup. We talked about the lagers. We talked about the Scotch and the Scottish ale. I got that right. What else do you do that's important to you?
So what I try and do is have beers that are approachable from a wide variety of people. So there's IPAs for IPA people, there's Belgian wit or Pilsner for low alcohol, and then even barrel-aged high octane stuff. So I like to have a nice variety, so anyone that comes in, they can hopefully find at least 1 or 2 beers that they like.
All right, Jeff, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd love to throw in right before you got here today, Jeff, you brought out a basket full of fruit and botanicals, and usually with the wit, people think there are all sorts of additional ingredients in there, and it's real. All those flavors come from the yeast. No, you put those ingredients in.
Yeah, there are. The yeast does contribute, but yeah, to that I add orange peel, tangerine peel, fresh ginger that I have to grind up, and coriander seeds.
It smelled like a spa in here.
Yes.
It was so relaxing.
Well, Jeff Mulhern, we've really enjoyed our day here at Crooked Eye. Plan to come back. Tara, thanks very much, and check out Tara's book, A Woman's Place is in the Brew House, available everywhere. Pleasure to see you again.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week on What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Monco Maker's Passport. Download your free digital pass and sip your way through Montgomery County. By the Conshohocken Brewing Company, featuring 4 locations and available at beer retailers throughout the tri-state area. By Visit Bucks County. Travel the Bucks County Ale Trail. Get your passport at visitbuckscounty.com. And by support from the Pennsylvania Malt and Brewed Beverage Industry Promotion Board and grant funding from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board.